Okay, everyone, I won't take much of your time, about 5 minutes maybe, not more. So I have to talk very fast, and I'm really sorry about that. Yeah, I have to talk very fast, so please buckle up. Okay, let me start with the story of a crime. This guy named Alex, very young, sees his old enemy finally, finds the time and just approaches him, and suddenly bang, hits him on the ground. And the question is, how do we explain such a crime with things we learn in criminology? Well, we usually focus on these kind of factors and theories, right? Okay, we can summarize them in two sources of behavior. One, environment, in a broad definition, it can be anything, and mind. Okay, so the question is, what are we missing? Well, if we have the God's perspective, we can go back and see what has happened to this guy, okay, to see all the factors. For example, family problem is one. The other is genetic impairment, it makes it more violence. The other is when he was playing rugby, he experienced traumatic brain disorder, and he became drug addict, alcoholic, and violent. And we can see how this person has become this person, right? So, sources of behavior from God's perspective added two sources to us: environment, mind, brain, and genetics. We usually don't have these things in our books, okay? We don't look at them. And if you think there are dependent sources, you might say, okay, we have part of the reality when we have these two. That's enough, we might get some of the results, but that's not the case. I created contribution of factors in a multi-layered network to explain this issue. It's a behavioral model, but as crime is a subset of behavior, right? So I'm going to talk about this. The main principle of this is the interaction between them. I'm going to talk about the interaction very fast. First, brain and mind. The best example is Phineas Gage. Then he was placing some dynamites under the ground, suddenly went off and went through his eye, but he survived, but his behavior totally changed. It shows how mind changes through the brain. The other is genetic and the brain. Simply we know how our genes contribute to our brain structure and behavior accordingly. Environment and brain, which is completely interesting for everyone. We know how good environment can give a good structure to the brain and poor social behavior, and bad environment can be a disaster for the brain, especially for children, right? The other is how, on the other hand, our brain affects the environment. For example, the places you go, people you see, your friends you have, things you buy, there are kind of specific environment that you're creating for yourself. The other is pretty interesting again, genetic and environment together affect the brain. How? One of the famous one is MAON gene, which happens with mutation and results in this kind of behavior. People usually become so violent. But, there's always a but. Impaired MAOA always need an environmental factor, which is childhood maltreatment, which within different degrees of it, we will have different degree of antisocial behavior. Right? So it shows how genetics and environment are interacting, and both of them are important. The last one is brain, on our genes, epigenetics. We don't have time for that. That would take an hour. Okay, so just let's leave it there. Okay, this model shows the interaction between them and puts the brain in the middle, in the center, and somebody should say, okay, this is a neuroreductionist and you're giving more weight to the brain and things like that. No, that's not the thing. I don't support that at all. The thing is, we want to create a friendly relationship based on facts and science for criminology. Okay, and our insist is to having 4 different sources of behavior all together, and to solve the problem, put all of them together. More importantly, there is no single cause of crime. There are always different causal factors altogether that contribute to cause of crime, right? So that's also right. So in conclusion, if we have just part of the truth, like environment and mind only, this person who's looking for something in the room can see the whole picture. Okay, it can be totally wrong. What I call distortional reality. All in all, if we want good, criminological policies in the future, we need these things in our educational system in university. As we know, brain is so important. 70% of adult persons have history of traumatic brain injury. Last code, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything begins to look like a nail, right? Thank you very much.